Welcome back. Thanks for joining me this Sunday night on The Real Story with Jeannie Ice, where we cover all sorts of information from state, federal, and local level. And we like to, of course, focus on Illinois issues. But when you do that, you know what? We are focusing on an Illinois issue. Oh, his name is Obama. Yeah, Obama, who is now at the center of a huge corruption conspiracy. Sounds like treason to me. Here's Maria Bartiromo on her morning show today discussing that very conspiracy.
And we begin this Sunday morning with the biggest political scandal of all, collusion and conspiracy at the highest levels against President Trump. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard revealing what this audience has known all along. A cabal of high-ranking officials led by then-President Barack Obama, CIA Director John Brennan, and Hillary Clinton, among others, took the world on a wild goose chase to try and take down their political enemy, Donald Trump, no matter the casualties along the way. DNA Tulsi Gabbard is now calling for prosecutions, revealing declassified documents from the Russia collusion made-up investigation, which she says detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to stop incoming President Donald Trump. The cabal included Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Jim Comey, and Susan Rice, who pushed a made-up story that President Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election, so the cabal would not lose their grip on power. All of this exactly as then Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, Judiciary Committee member John Ratcliffe, and President Trump himself told us so many times from day one.
What that is it's the original intelligence, the original reasons that the counterintelligence investigation was started. Now, this is really important to us because a counterintelligence investigation uses the tools of our intelligence services that are not supposed to be used on American citizens. So we've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation?
All right, there you have it. Well, here to discuss that and much, much more is the founder of Marco Polo, the person who put out the Biden laptop in all of its contents. It's Garrett Ziegler. He was there in that first Trump administration, working
True.
for Peter Navarro. And, you sort of probably saw this and amidst all of your other duties, exactly what was happening to the Trump administration. So now that we know what we know, which we already knew what we knew, how do you feel about this new report by Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, I'm grateful for her release of primary source documents.
Yes.
You know, we had a hunch that this was the case. By the way, I must apologize in advance. Effingham is getting absolutely hit with we're actually under a thunderstorm warning. So if there's any thunder in the background, I apologize. But
Oh, there's
Tulsi
thunder in the background. Every time we talk about this, there is thunder in the background.
Tulsi did something that Gina Haspel and even Ratcliffe could have done for the entirety of Trump's first term from 2018 on. All she did was go into the bowels of their email system, both unclassified and classified, and dig all this up. In the main revelation, I've listened to the entire show tonight, and you said that Obama learned this stuff. It's really the Chicago way. You know, they had this thing for Joe Biden called the Delaware way. Well, the Chicago way was where Obama cut his teeth in the Illinois Senate. And the big primary source document that Tulsi declassified was that Obama basically told the staff level of the ODNI and the CIA to go back and redo their math because the result did not support their political conclusion. So it's like, you know, the analogy I use is imagine you're cheating in your fifth grade math class and you have the correct answer, but your teacher is adept and knows that you're cheating, and she makes you go back and show your work again. Well, that's the opposite of what Obama was doing. They basically wanted to redo the work to get a different math result. And so although the public has a hunch about this, what I love is that there's primary source documents, which allows us to then put pressure on our U.S. attorney nominees for the Trump administration to charge people. Because right now there is such a righteous fervor amongst the public for justice, not just truth. You know, justice is a higher bar than truth. You can have truth without justice, and that's what we have right now. We have the truth of the primary source documents. We see the paper trail. We see the Susan Rice email to herself. We see her tasking of the president. He wants us to create an assessment of how Russia interfered in the election. And look at the goalpost moving. So they for their media handlers, it's no longer that Russia changed votes. They changed the goalpost to attempted to interfere in the election. Well, that's a much broader statement, right? So they bake in plausible deniability in their statements. How this relates to the work I'm currently doing is that we just relaunched a searchable database of all 128,000 emails found in the Biden laptop, which was a legally abandoned device in Wilmington, Delaware, that then became an exhibit in a federal criminal trial against the sitting U.S. president's son. And so the public's love of primary source documents and being able to see into the bowels of their government, My Little C3 has done that for a couple of years now with these emails, which show clear lobbying violations. And, you know, that term that I just learned this week that you put in your newsletter, it's called Madaganistan.
Yeah.
I just learned that. I'm embarrassed to say I just learned that. These emails from the Biden laptop are a DC version of Madaganistan. They show money laundering, prostitution, sex trafficking, drug deals, lobbying violations, everything. So every viewer and listener of your program can go for free to BidenLaptopEmails.com and search all 128,000 emails on the Biden laptop. It is the only resource on planet Earth where you can go and see these. And we made such a dent in the families' basically self-perception of themselves that they sued us. And we're still battling lawfare. I'm going to Los Angeles on Tuesday because we have oral argument against the sugar brother for the Bidens in downtown L.A. in the state court system because he sued me for intentional infliction of emotional distress. So I've been paid, you know, no good deed goes unpunished.
That's
and
right.
as a result of this publication of primary source documents, think about it this way. If you're a normal person and somebody posts communications, private communications, or at one time private communications, you may feel, you know, oh, darn it, I shouldn't have let those go out. But if you have nothing to hide, how could you possibly have emotional distress? So the lawsuit proves that they're doing something wrong by their, you know, because what would you have to hide? I mean, if somebody posts your communications and you say you get emotional distress from that?
Hunter
Kevin
was suing.
Morris.
Oh, Kevin Morris. He's still suing you? You're still involved in that lawsuit?
He's still suing us.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so the case with Hunter got dismissed with prejudice, and we're still in the federal appellate court because we want our legal fees reimbursed. So I'm not letting Hunter get away with it. He just wanted to dismiss, and although it got dismissed with prejudice, which from your viewer's standpoint, if you're worried about going and on our website, first of all, you shouldn't, because we redacted the genitalia and social security numbers. But secondly, Hunter can never resurrect his claims against us ever again. He can never sue me for any type of data thing at the federal or state level ever again. So there's never been a better time to go search through these emails. Search your local officials. Lisa Madigan's in there. Lisa Madigan's in the Biden laptop emails. It's insane.
Yeah.
So so it's not just a story of Joe and Hunter, right? It's a story of the political class. The case against Hunter. Yeah, go ahead.
But I mean, when you were in that first Trump administration and they were going through all these, Russian collusion investigations, they were all ginned up. Did you see any part of that? Was it talked about much, or were you just trying to get your work done?
It was talked about all the time. It was like a rain cloud that I'm looking out. Oh, It's like I'm looking at my front window right now, and it's absolutely pouring. It was like a rain cloud over the whole first term. Because remember, Mueller didn't even release his BS report until March of 2019, so that sucked up 26 months.
That's right.
So that whole first and
then John Durham's report.
Wait,
when did John Durham's? That didn't come out until, I think, after 2020. When was John Durham's report?
Yeah, John Durham
was like during the Biden
John Durham was
administration.
another nothing burger. He got one plea deal from a corrupt Wisconsin-born attorney named Kevin Kleinsmith, who doctored.
It takes Tulsi Gabbard essentially 6 months to show the receipts. This should have been shown literally years ago.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Right now, if I'm the president, this is some insider baseball, but if I'm the president, I'm calling in Radcliffe's behind and saying, hey, WTF, man. I can't trust you. You were sitting on this the entire time, and now some people who want to give him an out are going to say, well, Gina Haspel did, she was there too. Well, the last time I checked, Radcliffe as the ODNI, that whole office was a creation post 9/11 to monitor all the intel agencies. So technically, Tulsi, from an org chart perspective, is above the CIA director. And Tulsi only answers to the president. So I know that the public's focus right now should be finding U.S. attorneys who will match what was released in these primary source documents to statute violations. Right? Because the public
Garrett, we're going to take a short break there because I want to hold and pause with that thought. I'm going to come back to you because I want to pick that up with something related to the Epstein files and also Hunter Biden that Daniel Green wrote in Front Page. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeannie Ives.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
All right. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me on The Real Story tonight. We still have Garrett Ziegler. He is the founder of Marco Polo, and they put out the Biden laptop top contents. And they have just recently put out all of the emails in a searchable database. So that is something that people want to take a look at. Garrett, where can they find those again? What's the email or the web address?
Yes, the web address, Jeannie, is bidenlaptopemails.com.
Okay.
BidenLaptopEmails.com. And it's like a WikiLeaks site. It's a miniaturized American version of WikiLeaks. That's how I describe it.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I wanted to continue this conversation about exactly what's going on and the fact that the sort of the intel agencies and the media and the collusion around what they did to Trump, and at the top of the food chain, of course, is Obama. I mean, he goes right to the top. He's the one who asked them to adjust the intelligence assessment, which allowed them to then go ahead and start their fake Russia investigation and whatnot. But I thought that this was also informative because, of course, the other big story is this Epstein story and the fact that there's not been a lot of transparency there. But Daniel Greenfield, writing in Front Page magazine, wrote this article dated July 17th, who really backed Epstein, who really had the power to protect Epstein across 3 states. And it's fairly lengthy, but at the end of it, I found it interesting because it does kind of loop in what's going on with the Biden laptop. He writes, 9 years ago, I assembled lists of sexual predators associated with the Clintons and Democrats. Epstein was just one of the names on that list. Rather than being a unique phenomenon, Jeffrey Epstein was part of a pattern, of sexual crimes surrounding the Clintons and the Democrats. Oh, I got to sneeze here. Okay. Conservatives used to know that, but social media grifters have overrun the movement, some of them in the pay of foreign governments, and they obsessively push their agendas. Many are millennials who don't even remember the Clintons, and the Clintons are less exciting now that Bill is a doddering old fool who can barely finish a sentence and defeat reduced Hillary to a bitter, powerless shrew. But the Democrats have not become any less corrupt for it all, because he points to the fact that who backed Jeffrey Epstein? It was the Democrats and specifically the Clintons. He says, could the Jeffrey Epstein case happen today? Meaning, could all of this be swept under the rug for decades at a time? And he says, of course. And we watched it happen. During the Biden administration, we witnessed the spectacle of multiple law enforcement agencies, federal and local, as well as officials from across the government, collude to cover up the crimes of Hunter Biden, despite public photo and video evidence of drug use, prostitution, and behavior that would have landed any normal person behind bars for a decade or two. We saw the president head up a money laundering operation across members of his family in a conspiracy involving corrupt meetings with foreign billionaires from Russia to China and payments in diamonds and through shell accounts, blood money, and threats of torture in a Mideast dictatorship aimed at witnesses who tried to speak out against the Bidens. Jeffrey Epstein is not a phenomenon. He's just another day in the life of Democrats. What say you?
Well, I want to go read the piece in full because it sounds extremely articulate. I agree with that. Hunter was akin to a calf in a herd of oxen. And, if you watch the Planet Earth show, you'll see that if the baby calf is threatened in any way from like wolves or other predators, they will surround that calf. That's essentially what Hunter Biden was. And all of the adults forming the outer boundary protecting little Hunter are the press and every powerful three-letter agency in our country. And so I think I accept his general premise in the piece in that there are many more folks just like Jeffrey Epstein, and I do think people of my generation don't get just how dirty the Clintons were. It's unreal. And, most people forget that Daley was good friends with Joe Biden, and he was Obama's chief of staff.
That's
so
right.
There's
John Daley
a
was.
triad here. Yeah, there's a couple. It's not a one-headed snake, right? Obama's one of the heads of the snake, but there's also.
Yeah, John Daley, Rahm, and Ron all got rich together too. By the way, we wrote about that in our little book, "The Governor You Don't Know." Rahm and Daley and Rauner all got rich together.
I need to get that book.
Yeah, I have it. I have multiple copies of it still.
You don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to read it.
It's just a little pamphlet we put out during my campaign against Rauner.
Well, the piece that you alluded to that on Front Page Mag, that I'm going to go look up right after you get off the line here, that's his analysis that this did occur is the exact reason why we put up the email database. Because the people have to know what the state covered up. I think part of the frustration with the Epstein case file, and the folks got to understand that just even if the grand jury testimony is released, because remember, it's up to the judge. The district court judge is going to decide what's released. Even if it is released in fairly unredacted form, that is only the grand jury testimony. So people, when they address their government for a redress of grievances, they have to be very specific. What I want is not just the grand jury testimony, although that will be revelatory. I want the actual case file. One thing that the IRS whistleblowers did in the Hunter Biden case that was so extraordinary and so wonderful is that with proper redactions, meaning we don't want to see any genitalia, especially from victims, but they release their case file, like 100 documents. That's what we need. We need the bowels of the investigation. Your previous guest, fantastic detective with the Chicago Police, he would know within minutes what to look for within the Epstein case file. You need not just 302s, but the actual agent reports from interviews, from video. All of it. That's why I think the base was so displeased with the 2-page memo that was leaked to Axios. It's not that they hate Bondi and Cash Patel per se, Jeannie. It's that they wanted to see their work. That's why good math teachers, and it's the second time I brought up a math example just because I hated those courses so much. Good math teachers, they care only a little whether you get the right answer. School is about showing your work. They want you to show your work at the bottom of the page. And the best math teachers will give you credit, even if you get the answer wrong, if you show your work.
Yeah. Well, that's what we lived on that at West Point. Max partial credit is what we called it. Underline your answer twice. But
yes.
Yeah.
Because the teacher will be able to teach you if she can follow your work, she'll say, hey, you went wrong here. Right. And that's what's so critical. We have, I listened to a long form interview yesterday with G. Robert Blakey, whose son just sentenced Madigan, surprisingly, to over 7 years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He helped write the RICO statute. And, one thing that came out of the interview that I was shocked with is, these prosecutions are not just valuable for the convictions, but they run through the enterprise itself. These RICO cases they spell out what is the cartel exactly. And we live in an organized crime society and government.
Garrett, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining me on The Real Story. We'll be right back. We've got much more to talk about.